Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and I welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. So in today's episode, we got a lot of things that I want to unpack today in this show today, so I just want you guys to bear with me. So the first thing I want to get into is why Kawhi Leonard and Paul George should never leave the Clippers. All right, that's the first topic I want to get into in today's video. Then I'm going to be covering, the top players in the NBA with the most pressure this season, and I'm also going to be covering, the topic of is NBA players choosing not to play a stain on sports as a whole. So those are the topics I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, we just finally opened our Twitter account, so we're going to be on Twitter, guys. So we have our Twitter links in the description below, so you guys can definitely check that out, so we can interact a little bit more, probably debate on some topics, so we can just stay in touch. So every time we're connecting, it's not just through the comment section, but we can actually exchange some messages on Twitter. So be sure to follow me and Marco on Twitter. We're going to link that in the description below for you guys to check out, so please make sure you go ahead and do that. So with that being said, let's just get straight into the content here today. So this one may rub you guys the wrong way, and some of you guys may say, what do you mean that Kawhi Leonard and Paul George should never leave? Didn't you see how these guys performed in the playoffs? What are you talking about, man? I mean, what kind of message are you trying to send here? What are you smoking, bro? Like, what's up with you? So first of all, let's talk about Paul George. Paul George, for the regular season, the guy averaged 21 points a game, 20.5 points a game for the Clippers, 5.7 rebounds, 3.9 assists, and in the playoffs, however. Yeah, but after the lockdown, the guy was averaging 25.5 points a game, shooting 50% from the field. This was after coming off his knick-knack injuries, missing so many games. Now, last year, I think he played a total of 48 games, is what I'm seeing. That's what he played for the Clippers in the regular season. That had to do with him missing, I think, about close to 20 games at the beginning of the season for shoulder surgery that he had, so he couldn't play with them, which also contributed to a lot of the chemistry issues that the team had. But after the long break, the 3-month break due to the global pandemic that we had, he came back, he looked healthy, and he had a good showing in those 8 bubble games. And when he went into the playoffs, he just regressed back to his regular season averages, which was quite astonishing given the fact how poorly he played in the playoffs. So Paul George didn't have a good showing in the playoffs. He was grossly inconsistent. Now, if we look at Kawhi Leonard, on the other hand, for the regular season for the team, he averaged 27.1 points a game, which is a career high for him, 7.1 rebounds, 4.9 assists for the team. In the playoffs, his numbers were sensational, as you all know, but he had a terrible Game 7. But for the regular season, he shot 47% from the field, which is really efficient, given the fact that he's primarily a jump shooter. He shot 38%. He shot 38% from the three-point line, which is pretty good for them. And he shot 88.6% from the free throw line, and he got you 1.8 steals. All of his numbers went up in the playoffs. It's just that he chose the worst game in the season to have his worst, probably the worst game in his career, probably in that Game 7 when it got closed out. And that's when they got sent home. Now, we all know the big hype behind these two players, especially last year when Kawhi Leonard had won the NBA championship and the finals MVP, and the big sort of storyline behind whether or not he's going to play with the Lakers or the Toronto Raptors or the Clippers. So he was able to go to the Clippers, although he did try to recruit Kevin Durant. He tried to get Kevin Durant to come play with him, but KD said, listen, man, I'm going to Brooklyn to go play with Kyrie Irving, who I think is his close friend. He reached out to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler decided that he wanted to go play with the Miami Heat, and it looked like it was a good decision for him because he went to the NBA Finals. And then ultimately he was able to get Paul George, and I think he basically told the Clippers, hey, listen, you get me, you get Paul George, you have me. If you don't get him, you don't have me. And long story short, they got him, and there were so many expectations for this team. So many expectations. All of us, not all of us, the good majority of us picked the Clippers to win the title. The good majority of us, even the people that were laughing at them when they lost, picked the Clippers to win the title, right? Makes you wonder, why did you pick them in the first place if you thought they were going to lose in the end? Interesting. Anyway, a lot of people picked them, and they flamed out in the playoffs, and there's no excuse for how they lost, given all of the expectations and all these things that we expected from them, but they grossly underperformed in these playoffs, right? And since then, it's been an avalanche of criticism recommendations from sports fans and people in media and all of these things of what the Clippers should do. We've heard a group of people say, blow up the team, blow it up, get rid of these guys, get in a new batch of players because they're not good enough, which is something I completely disagree with. You've heard some people say, get rid of Paul George. He was the weak link. Get rid of Paul George. He was the problem. Other people said they need a true point guard because Patrick Beverley cannot run a team, and Lou Williams is just he's poor on defense, and he takes a lot of ill-advised shots sometimes, and he has some ill-advised turnovers, and he's not really a great distributor of the basketball. Some people said you need to go get a defensive big, a defensive center, because that's the glaring weakness that you guys had when Nikola Jokic was basically tearing your you know what up in those 7-game series, because some people can say he was the difference, right? We've heard all of these different sort of opinions, which is fine because everyone should be able to lend a voice to the topic, given the fact that a lot of these people had vested interest in the Clippers, especially Clippers fans. They supported the team the most, so it's only right that they should have a say in what they think should happen. However, I want to come at this from a completely different angle. Okay, I think Kawhi Leonard and Paul George need to make sure that they stay their butts in Los Angeles with the Clippers. That's my opinion. I think they need to stay there and try to find a way to figure it out. Because if they leave, if you get rid of Paul George, if you get rid of Kawhi Leonard, and one of these guys walks next year or whatever it is, first of all, the message it sends is that you don't finish things when you don't finish things that you start. That is a bad message to send to the league, but also to sports fans. It sends a message that, listen, you try something once or twice, you fail, you move on. Just quit and go do something else. What kind of message is that to send to people? Number one. Number two, think about all the other players that have been in your position that have been trying to get there, right? That probably didn't have as much talent as you guys had on your team, and they never gave up, and eventually they broke through. Some of you guys said, but what are you talking about? Look at Jordan, right? Jordan was in the league for a number of years. The first time Michael Jordan got a bona fide all-star and Scottie Pippen. Remember, because Scottie Pippen came to the Bulls, he was not an all-star. He had to develop into one, I think, the following season. The minute he got an all-star, he never lost. He never lost again. I mean, he lost once when he came back with wearing the number 45 after he came back from playing baseball with like 20 games left in the season. Some people can say, oh, okay, he lost there, fine. But nevertheless, he went through the process. The minute he got a good player, got a good coach, they were able to break through. Some people said, listen, the coaching was the issue. You got a new coach. You got a new coach. Right? You got a new coach in the locker room. How about getting better? How about that? How about you fail and you try to get better? And how about you get the mindset of, I'm not going to stop until I succeed? How about that for a change? What about that thought process? What's this idea of doing things, the minute you fail, you blow it up and you give up and you go somewhere else? My question I want to ask you guys is, if either one of these players goes to another situation, don't you still have to go out there and work for it? I'll give you guys an example. You remember the time when the Lakers got, when they had Kobe, they had Shaq, they had a prime Kobe. Shaq was still in some type of shape, let's say in his prime. Then they went out and got Karl Malone, and then they got Gary Payton. You remember when everyone thought that team was going to win the championship, and they got to the finals, and they lost to the Detroit Pistons in 5 games? What happened? What the Lakers were trying to do in that situation was essentially cheat the process. They were trying to cheat the process and say, listen, man, we don't have time to be going through this thing of trying to learn and improve and come back and get better. We need to win this championship now. It's this instant gratification culture that we live in where things need to happen now. And if they don't happen now, it's a waste of time. Let's blow it up. Let's just quit. Let's just start all over again. They lost to a team that was not as talented as they were, right? And mind you, the Lakers at that time had already three-peated with Kobe and Shaq. They had already three-peated, but now they were just trying to skip steps. So for me, the idea that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, either they trade away Paul, no, you don't trade away Paul George. You sat there and opened your big mouth and was talking about, oh, we're going to win, and you were walking around with that swag. Okay, you got knocked, you got punched in the mouth. How are you going to come back? How are you going to come back? Everybody gets knocked down at one point or another. It's all about the comeback. How are you going to respond to a defeat? And the idea of now people say, "Oh, let's quit, let's close it out, they should throw in the towel, blow up the team." That's absurd to me. Number one, as I said, it sends a bad message. Then number one, you don't finish things that you start. Number two, you're a quitter, flat out. When things don't go your way, you quit. That's the message you're sending. When things don't go your way, you quit. You're not willing to stay committed to a process long enough to see it through in order to make sure that you get the results that you want. No one is saying you remain complacent, because you can always tweak here and there, but blowing up the team is just another way of quitting. You try to tweak here and there, and you re-up and you go for it again, man. So for me, if they quit, if they blow it up, or one of them gets traded away, what was the point of it all in the first place? What was the point of it all? So it didn't work out the first time. Then you go try it again. Right? You go try it again. I remember when Kobe and these guys, they went to the finals and they lost against the Celtics with Powell, with Andrew Bynum and these guys. They lost. Who said, "Oh, blow up the team"? Who knew that when they kept the team together, they would go off to win the next 2 titles and beat the team that beat them the first time? What they did was they got better. And they made it to the finals and lost. But what they did was they got better. Kobe said, "Listen, man, these guys were just wolves. We just went up against. We just went up against a bunch of wolves, and they just tore our you-know-what out. And we got to get better. I got to figure out what I got to do in the offseason, infusing these guys. So when I'm going up against the Boston Celtics, you're not just facing me, you're facing 12 of me. 12 hungry wolves." And they came back and they beat the Orlando Magic and they beat the Celtics 2 years later. That's what happens when you have stick-to-itiveness. So for me, the idea, oh, you blow it up and this and this and that, I think that's just a quitter's mentality, because you didn't see what you wanted in that moment. I'll give you guys a practical example of what I'm talking about. And I know it sounds like I'm ranting, but I just wanted to get some things off my chest here, and we can have a conversation about it. Some people are going to agree or disagree. That's fine. Think about doing YouTube, right? Think about doing YouTube as a sports commentator, content creator. Think about that for a second. Y'all think it's easy? Do some people think it's easy? Like, do you think that, okay, every day things are just going like this? No. There are days when things go up and things go down, and sometimes things stay down for a long time. We created sports content. We started last July, really. And it was the first time we tried something like that. All I knew was that I enjoy basketball a lot. And Marco was really, really good at putting things together and designing things and editing and all these different things, graphics and all of that. So I said, let's move in this direction. We went months without seeing any results. Zero results. Zero. Right? Zero. But we kept at it. You keep at it. And then eventually you hit 1,000 subscribers. And then you feel good. And you're like, yeah, okay, I saw something. And then things slow down again. And then you keep keeping at it, and then you hit 5,000 subscribers. That's how you gain people's respect. That's how you get, people are not looking at you and say, "Oh my God," no, people are respecting your hustle and your grind. Like, listen, these guys have been at it for a minute, but they're not quitting. And it inspires some other people. You don't know who you're inspiring when you don't quit. You don't know who out there is looking for inspiration in you. And the moment you quit, it's like, man, if they can do it, if they can do it, what makes you think I can do it? So for me, quitting is not an excuse. It's just another way to say, I didn't get what I wanted immediately, so therefore I quit. And I think it's absurd. There are many examples, not just in sports, but in other parts in life, where people have stuck to something long enough and then eventually it paid off. So many stories like that and scenarios like that. So for me, they need to keep these guys together. They already spent the money. They're 2 max players. They're already earning $30 million a piece. You already got the money. Now you need to go out there and figure out, what is it that I need to do to make sure we get over the hump and come back and win this thing. Simple as that. Every great player goes through it, and these guys need to figure it out. So that's my thoughts and opinions on that. These guys better stay their butts in LA and figure it out. There's no way you put people through that entire roller coaster last summer. You do all the commercials, you do all of this, and at the end of the day, you lose the first season and you blow it up. What a waste of time. So the Paul George and Kawhi Leonard better not do that. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me? Do you think that these guys need to find a way to figure it out and eliminate this idea of quitting on things when they don't go your way, and try to figure it out. And they better find a way to figure it out. So whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts and opinions on that. So I want to move to the next topic. And the next thing I want to talk about is the players that are under the most pressure this season. Now, granted, this is my opinion, guys. This is just my opinion, right? It's not that, it's not that these are the definitive players. These are just the players that I think are under a lot of pressure, and I think need to figure out a way to overcome some of the demons that they've been having. Excuse me. So let's talk about it. I got a few players here. Since we're on topic, let's stick to Paul George, for example. Paul George. All right. Paul George is a max player in the NBA. He's a 6-time All-Star. He's been on 5 All-NBA teams, been on 4 All-Defensive teams, 2 All-First, Second Defensive teams, 2 All-Second Defensive teams. He won the Most Improved Player of the Year in 2013, and he led the league in steals in 2019. And 2 seasons ago, the guy finished top 3 in MVP voting and top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. So the guy can ball. Paul George has exhibited the ability to ball. That year, as I was talking about, he averaged 28.6 points a game, got you 0.2 blocks a game, got you 1.4 steals a game. 1.4 steals a game that season for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Got you 8.6 rebounds, and the guy just had a monster year that season. Monster year. But then, he got to the Clippers, and some can say yes, some can attribute it to injuries, fine. But let's just face it, Paul George played below his talent and his ability as a basketball player. He underperformed, especially in the playoffs. He did. There's no two ways to look at it. And Paul George has had this history of underperforming in big moments in the playoffs. Now, let me say this. A lot of you guys told me all last season and this year, whatever you want to call it, that, hey, listen, man, I don't trust Paul George. I don't trust Paul George. I don't trust him. And I said to you guys, man, what are you talking about? The guy can play, man. What are you talking about? And some people are like, man, I don't trust this dude. Even Kendrick Perkins said it. Listen, Paul George is not somebody you want to depend on. He is just not somebody you want to depend on in the playoffs because of his history of constantly flaming out in the playoffs. And I said to myself, no way, man. The guy's too good. Look at his numbers. He was injured. And sure enough, he was inconsistent all season. But he got to the Orlando bubble, and I said, listen, the guy's healthy now. And the guy's averaging over 25 a game. He's shooting really well. I told you, this is what Paul George looks like when he's healthy. And something unbelievable happened. The guy went into the playoffs, and literally same arena, same venue, didn't travel, nothing really changed. Same hotel, same food, nothing changed. And he was like another player. At certain points, it looked like Paul George forgot how to play basketball. And I was saying to myself, what the hell is going on here? And I remember a lot of people in the comment section say, hey, listen, dude, we told you. Bro, we told you. We told you could not trust this dude. And I was, let me just say to you guys, I was feeling foolish that I picked this guy, that I sat here, defended him, saying there's no way that Paul George is going to underperform in these playoffs. And sure enough, he made me look like a damn fool. And Paul George has been at it for a long time. He's been in the league for 9 years. And you cannot have that much talent, that much skill, and constantly underperform in high leverage moments in the playoffs. Not in this scenario. Last time you were in the playoffs with Russell Westbrook, one can understand that, hey, listen, Russell Westbrook can be a little bit erratic. Sometimes he can take himself out of a game or even out of a series. Remember the time they were playing against, I believe it was the Utah Jazz, and he started going at it with Ricky Rubio in the playoffs. Who does that? Fouls out of it. Who does that? Right? Who does that? Who is so emotional that you can't control your emotions to the point where you start jeopardizing your team? Like, it's one thing if you jeopardize yourself, but the entire team. So one could say, oh, listen, he was playing with Russell Westbrook. And Russell Westbrook was always holding back. Now you're playing with Kawhi, man. Nobody here is going to argue that Russell Westbrook is better than Kawhi. No one that has any sense is going to argue that. And all Kawhi needed you to do was just be consistent. And you couldn't even do that. earning over $30 million a year. We just did a video called Money in Sports talking about how much money Kawhi Leonard makes every single day. We're going to link that somewhere in the end of this video. You guys go check that out. These guys are making a lot of money. It's not like as if you're under any financial pressure. Excuse me. It's not like as if that's the issue, which is one of the biggest forms of pressure people can be under. Not saying it's the only one, but it's a major one that causes a lot of stress in people's lives, not having enough money and the pressure that comes with that. Not like as if you're married and you're having marital issues. You're not married. So what happened? What happened? And Paul George needs to redeem himself, especially after the comments that he made at the end of the series, saying, oh, hey, man, listen, we weren't expected to win, and, it is what it is, and, we'll be back. And you can't say that. You can't say that with all of the hype and the way you guys were walking around acting like as if you won the championship already, and then you come back talking about, oh, yeah, man, it's all good. It's whatever, man. We'll be back. If nobody expected us. Come on, you can't say that. So Paul George is one of these guys that has pressure on him. You got to deliver, man. You're making way too much money. You have help. You're on a talented team. You live in a beautiful part of the world. You're living in LA. It's not like as if you're living in one place that's super cold or super hot or whatever it is. It's not like you're living in the middle of Dubai in the summertime or something like that. You live in a beautiful part of the world. You have money. All of these different things. You're healthy. What's the problem? What's the problem? You got to perform. You're being paid to deliver results. You got to deliver. So Paul George is one of the guys that has pressure on him. Let's talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a player I love. I like the way he plays. I admire his game. And he's a hard worker. Giannis is just one of these guys that's gotten better all throughout his career. First year in the league, the guy averaged 6 points, 6.8 points. Next year, he averaged 12.7 points. The next year, he averaged 17 points. The next year, he averaged 23. The next year, he averaged 27. The next year, he averaged 27.7. Last season, the guy averaged what? 29.5 points, 13.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, man. Come on. Shot 55% from the field. The guy's a monster. Giannis Antetokounmpo and oh, by the way, got you 1 steal and 1 block to go in with all of that. Deserved to be the regular season MVP. Absolutely. Unequivocally should have been the regular season MVP because he had the best regular season. Period. End of story. If we're going to take into account the playoffs, that's something else. But the regular season, he had the best regular season. Period. End of story. Period. End of story. He was not playing with another top 5 NBA player. I'm sorry. There was no argument you can make that Giannis was not the best player on his team. Some people say it's LeBron. It's not LeBron. LeBron, in some cases, was not even the best player on his team. He led the team in assists, but AD led him in point, rebounds, steals, and blocks, and all that other stuff. So he deserved to be the regular season MVP, and they had the #1 record in the NBA. But in the playoffs, Giannis disappeared. Giannis Antetokounmpo disappeared, and as a back-to-back regular season MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, you gotta beat the Miami Heat, man. Some people would say, hey, listen, maybe his running mates and Chris Middleton. But these guys, how are you good enough to be the #1 seed in the regular season and all of a sudden you get to the playoffs and you don't have enough help? Now, granted, there's some situations where players disappear, like Paul George just did, like we just finished talking about. But I don't think his teammates disappeared. And #1, come on, man, you're the MVP. You're the best player on that team. Giannis was not himself, right? If we look at his playoff numbers, let me see if I can pull them up here. His productivity went down. Points per game went down by like 3 points a game. His field goal percentage stayed the same. Free throw shooting went down a little bit. His blocks went down. His steals went down. So you got to raise your game. Giannis is some pressure on him. Some people say, man, listen, man, at the end of this season, he may walk. Some people say, hey, listen, he should go to Miami after this. Some people are saying he should go to Golden State. I'm saying you're under pressure to perform. And the East got tougher with KD moving to the Eastern Conference with Kyrie Irving. KD is going to be the best player in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, unless his injuries really changed him as a player. But Giannis Antetokounmpo should be able to at least get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. Should be. He's talented enough. The team is good enough. He should be. So there's going to be pressure on Giannis as well. And knowing what I know about Giannis up until this point, as a fellow Nigerian, brother of mine, let's say, I don't think Giannis is one of these guys that's going to be running around chasing rings. I could be wrong, but I think Giannis is probably stay put. Most likely stay put. because the things that other players look for is not what Giannis looks for, given his background. So Giannis is another guy that has some pressure on him to deliver, and I'll be really interested to see what he's able to do. Another player, and y'all are going to agree with me on this one, James Harden. James Harden is one of the players that's under a lot of pressure this season. Let's just be honest about it. James Harden is a regular season MVP, 8-time All-Star. He's been on 6 All-First NBA teams, 7 All-NBA teams total for his career. He also won the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award in 2012. He's led the league in scoring from 2018 to 2020, so for 3 straight years. He led the league in assists in 2017. One of the most talented players in the NBA was scoring and all of this. No one disputes that. If we look at his numbers last season, the guy averaged 34.3 points a game, 6.6 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. So the guy put up some monster numbers. Monster numbers. Now, some of you guys may say, hey, listen, these numbers may be a little bit inflated because he played under Mike D'Antoni, and we're going to see when he goes to if he gets traded, or I'm not sure. Yes, the Houston Rockets have a new coach, so we're going to see what his numbers look like if in fact the Mike D'Antoni effect is going to go away, or he's still going to be averaging 34 points a game. But James Harden is another player that's under pressure. James Harden has played with Chris Paul. James Harden played with Dwight Howard, and now James Harden is playing with Russell Westbrook. And somehow these guys are still not able to get over the hump for one reason or another. Max Kellerman made the excuse. Okay, they were going against the Golden State Warriors. Okay, fine. This year they were going against the Lakers. Look how they got beat down. They got beat down, right? James Harden was not himself. If we go and look at his numbers, let's see his playoff productivity. I'm not sure of his numbers yet. But let's look at that. Okay, there's what? Almost a 5-point drop off in his points. Now, some people say you averaged 29.6 points a game. It ain't what you did during the regular season. You didn't perform at that level. He shot a good field goal percentage. Shot 33% from the 3-point line. Got you 4.6 rebounds a game. No, 5.6 rebounds a game. 7.7 assists, 1.5 steals. But these are just stats, man. You got to get it done. James Harden's been at it for a minute. For a long time. James Harden has some pressure on him. And let me just say this about James Harden. I don't know him. I don't know if he's going to see this video. It doesn't really matter. I'm giving you guys my opinion. James Harden, as good as he is, he plays basketball and all of this. I have this feeling that losing does not bother James Harden the way it does other players. There's just a feeling I have about him. James Harden seems to have this kind of attitude that it's like, okay, I played my hardest, we lost. Okay, let me just go out and do my thing. Y'all remember a few years ago when they lost in the playoffs, like in 6 games, in Game 6 in the playoffs, or they lost in the series, and like a few hours later, they saw James Harden in a strip club. Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that? Remember that James Harden was in a strip club after he just lost in the playoffs, and a game y'all supposed to win. I think when the Rockets went 0 of 30 south, some crazy number from the 3-point line, and you in the strip club, and you just lost. You just lost in the playoffs, a game you weren't supposed to lose, and you in the strip club. Like, how is it that you just? How are you even in an emotional state to go to the strip club and start listening to music? Like, how? What are you celebrating about? You just lost. And when you have a player that's that good, getting paid that much money, it makes me wonder, are you doing this? Are you playing basketball because you love it? Or are you just doing it because, this is a way to get a bag? To me, it's inexplicable that you just lost and you in a strip club. So for me, I think that speaks to James Harden's seriousness. Some people say, how are you going to say that who cares? You're scoring all of these points, but it's not amounting to anything. It's not adding up. That's why. So if you look at Kawhi, who averaged 27 points a game, you look at James Harden, who averaged 36 points a game, no one in their right mind is going to tell you James Harden better than Kawhi Leonard. Because it's not just about the productivity. It's not just about the numbers. It's about how are you making guys better? Are you showing up when we need you the most? It's not about, I averaged. Who cares? James Harden has a lot of pressure on him, and I'm not letting off of that. I think it was crazy that he was in a strip club after you got blown out, after you lost that game to the Golden State Warriors, knowing good and well that you should have won the game. And finally, let's talk about Russell Westbrook. I got Russell Westbrook on the list as well. And he goes hand in hand with James Harden. Russell Westbrook has won a regular season MVP in 2017. I think he averaged a triple-double for 2 or 3 straight seasons. 9-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star Game MVP. Led the league to 2-time scoring champion in 2015, 2017. Led the league in assists 2 times already. One of the most athletic players we've ever seen, especially from the point guard position. Some may argue he is the most athletic point guard ever. Right? These are all vanity stats, vanity compliments. Right? Russell Westbrook has been in the league for a minute. Last season, he averaged 20-some points a game, 7.9 rebounds, 7 assists. He's been in the league for 11 years. Right? But Russell Westbrook is another guy that has a lot to prove. Now, some of y'all may say, hey, listen, man, Russell Westbrook plays hard. Absolutely. No one is talking about whether or not he plays hard. There are a lot of players that play hard. Giannis Antetokounmpo plays hard. He still has pressure on him as well. But Russell Westbrook, from what I understand, has not made it out of the second or first round since KD left. Russell Westbrook, a few seasons ago, was playing with Paul George, a very talented player, was in the playoffs against the Utah Jazz, and Russell Westbrook literally self-sabotaged himself and got himself thrown out of that series. I remember, I think it was game 5 or game 6, for going to Ricky Rubio. Bro, how is it that you're that important to your team and you're allowing yourself to get thrown out of a playoff game? Who does that? Russell Westbrook is way too talented, getting paid way too much money. You guys keep talking about, oh, I know some of you guys may think, what does the money have to? Money has a lot to do with it. When people pay you to pay you money, they expect the results. You crazy? If you're running a business and you're paying a guy $500,000 a year, you're going to keep paying this guy. You're going to be excited every time this guy doesn't deliver every year. And you still got to cut that check for him because you signed a 5-year contract with him, paying him $2.5 million a year. You got to deliver. Just because he's an athlete doesn't mean he gets a pass. Now, granted, everything is on his not his fault. But you got to deliver. You've been in the league for a long enough time. You got to deliver, man. You got to deliver. And given the fact that you're playing with another regular season MVP in his prime, come on, they got to deliver. They got to. There's too much writing on it. And some people would say, but I thought you said Paul George. And that's life. That's the competition of it. Someone wins, someone loses, but doesn't mean that the pressure's still not on you. It's a cop-out to say, well, man, listen, the other team. No, that's a cop-out. You got to go out there and deliver. And the case in point is you never know what's going to happen. The Denver Nuggets beat the Clippers, and the Clippers were favored. So what does it mean? So for me, these are the players that are under the most pressure. So I want to know if you guys agree with me about these players that are under most pressure for this season. And let me know if you guys agree with me or think there should be other players on this list or some of these guys shouldn't be on the list. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and make sure to follow us on our Twitter accounts that we have linked in the description below. And let me just close out this show here with this topic here. And the topic is some NBA players choosing not to play a stain on sports? And this is a topic I kind of went back and forth about, and me and Marco spoke about it. And Marco was like, hey, man, just talk about it. If it's on your chest, if you feel like it's something you need to get off your chest, then say it. And I'm going to say it. So y'all know that the NBA is trying to have a restart sometime around Christmas. And they're trying to have a season's a little bit shorter by 10 games, a 72-game season. That's also when the TV deals kick in. So they're trying to have a shorter season and try to make up ground so they can start the following year on time. And there's been a little bit of pushback by some players around the league, saying that, listen, it's too soon. It's too soon. The NBA season just ended. it's way too soon. We need to, can we start a little bit later? Some players want to start on MLK Day. They're saying Christmas is too soon. And Stephen A. Smith came on TV saying, hey, listen, if you guys decide to start the season 2 weeks later, you're going to possibly risk losing hundreds of millions of dollars. And you're going to reopen collective bargaining agreements. And then now the league, the owners are going to say, okay, you guys are costing us to lose this money. Now we got to figure out a new way for us to start making back our money. You're not just going to screw us. And some people out there were saying, well, you know, I mean, what do you expect, man? You know, you got to give these guys some time off to relax and get their bodies under control and then come back and this and it threw me off the rails. Probably is because I'm a hard worker and I don't like people that make excuses. Let me tell you why this thing turned me off. Essentially, what some of these players are saying is that they don't want to go to work on time. That's essentially what some of them are saying. We can cut it any way you want to cut it. You can slice it any way you feel like you want to slice it. Essentially, you say, I don't want to go to work this early, man. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. Now, let me ask you guys. Is basketball a contact sport like football, like in the NFL? Is it a contact sport? Where you can understand why these guys play one game a week and maybe 16 games a season? Is it on the same level? No one is going to compare basketball to football. No one is going to even compare that to like racing, like Formula One racing and Moto. You're not even going to compare that because people risk losing their lives in those sports. Literally, you get into a car accident. That's it. People have died playing that sport. In those sports. We're not going to compare it to those sports. There's no life or death scenario here. But for the thought that some players are saying that it's too soon to start, it's a slap in the face of anyone out there that works hard every single day and has to show up. It is a slap in the face. First of all, let's talk about it. We had the global pandemic that took place in March. The league shut down in March. I think up until that point, they played 50-something games right after All-Star break. They had about a 3-month hiatus from playing. There were no games. There were no team practices, no team flights. Everybody was at home. Or wherever they were. There were no games. At that point, 3 months off. Other people around the world that were also at home were at home either because they got laid off or because the government or they had to work from home and the government forced them to stop. Number one. Number two, you had 3 months off, which is like an off season. You came back. Of the 30 teams, 22 showed up. 8 stayed at home. The Golden State Warriors didn't go, and other teams, they didn't go. They stayed at home. The Pistons and all this, they stayed at home. It's only the teams that were in the playoffs and teams that had a chance to make it in the playoffs. 8 regular season games go by. Those remaining, 6 teams go home. Now you're at 16, right? So almost half of the league is at home. Almost half of the league is at home. Then you start going through the rounds and teams start going home. Clippers have been home for almost 2 months. The only 2 teams that stayed in the bubble long were the Lakers and the Heat. And if you want to make an argument that LeBron should have a rest because I have no problem with that because the guy is a workaholic and the guy's older and he's been playing for longer. But please help me understand, what is the excuse for these guys? What's your excuse? Danny Green talking about, oh, it's too soon. Dude, you were coming off the bench. Were you playing 30 minutes a game? What is your reasoning for that? You're getting paid millions of dollars a year. You have access to some of the best doctors and medical staff in the world, because these teams are going to pay the money to have them. It's not like as if you're living oh my God, I'm living in a tough situation. You're multimillionaires, and you're essentially saying that you don't want to go to work. We need to rest some more. What about all the other people that don't have that luxury? What about all those other people? Do you and I have that luxury? Let's talk about business owners, for example. I'm an entrepreneur. Some of you guys watching these videos are entrepreneurs. Some of you guys are working professionals, but let's talk about business owners. People in my family are entrepreneurs, my dad and others. Entrepreneurs work 365. We may take off, 2 to 3 weeks a year? Probably. Max. These are people that have to pay salaries. If you don't work, if you don't go out there and make it happen, salaries don't get paid. And they're out there working. Businesses that were shut down, that could not generate income due to the global lockdown, they couldn't even make money. And they were still trying to find a way to pay salaries. Trust me, I'm speaking from things that I know. And you're telling me that you don't want to go back to play because it's 2 weeks too soon and you guys are tired. I think that is absurd. Who loves this? Who can truly say that you love to do something and is looking for ways to get away from doing it? That's why some of these guys are not playing because they love basketball. They're doing it because it's a bag. Simple and plain. I think is a slap in the face of hardworking people that don't have the choice but to show up every single day. For some of these guys, not all of them, some of them that say, "Oh man, we're too tired. Oh, we're too tired." But what are y'all talking about? That you don't want to go back to work? And some people in the comment section are going to disagree. Hey man, listen. These guys are the reason that these owners are making all the money. First of all, no, they're not. They're part of the product. The NBA players and the organizations and everything goes hand in hand. If you don't believe me, you go write the best book in the world or go create the best software. But if you can't sell it, no one's going to have it. No one's going to buy it. If you don't know how to market it, if you don't know how to package it, no one is going to have it. These teams create a platform. Some people say, well, the players okay, so let the players go start their own league. You think that people working in organizations, the staff, the vendors, it doesn't go all hand in hand to create one product that you see. You think it's just the players? Of course not. You think they're not other forces in the league? You think presidents of teams and all these different things, they have no value? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's a very myopic way of looking at things. So for me, I was totally disgusted and I was just completely turned off. So what I want to know from you guys is, were you guys happy about that? Were you proud to hear that, these multi-millionaires don't want to show up to work? Were you happy about that? Do you have that same luxury? I mean, do you? And in sports, you have signed contracts. So whether or not you perform or you don't perform, you're still getting paid. There's so many instances of that. Guys out of the league still getting paid money because of deals that they signed years ago. So for me, I thought it was a really bad look. So that's what I think. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me on that topic as well? I know I spoke for a very long time today, but I had a lot of topics that I wanted to get off my chest. And I figured, hey, let me just get it off all at once. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, be sure to subscribe to our Twitter accounts, which are linked in the description below, so we can keep the conversation going and stay connected. Me and Marco are going to have ours down there, so we can definitely connect on that level. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamers Pro, wishing you guys an amazing day.